My name is Marky Benzies. This is my path, my journey. I'm willing to explain it all to you guys. No holding back anything. I just hope you're ready for the experience, and I just hope you can handle it.
This video is going to be about cannabis. Now, I apologize that the video is, I was going to go on the computer out there or in front of my tapestry and record a video, but I didn't really feel like getting up and really moving. So right now I'm just sitting on my bed about to make this video about cannabis, because I've actually began to realize that I've never really made a video just strictly about cannabis. Like, I'm always smoking and I'm always, and talk about plants and herbs, but like, I've never sat down and actually explained to you guys my love that I have for Mary Jane. And partially the reason why, I used to be Mark Jane Benzies, because the love I have for Mary Jane, the love I have for that plant is immense, because that was the first plant that really entered into my life. That was the first psychedelic that began to open my mind. That was the very first thing that really started the path. I first started smoking weed at 11 years old. Do not fucking start smoking weed at 11 years old. I don't care if you're in a legal state. I don't care if you're in an illegal state. Do not smoke weed at 11. So I only smoked it once when I was 11, but I smoked it again like one time when I was like 13. And then I didn't smoke again until I was 15. And then from 15 on, that was really history, because 15 years old, I met my friend. He used to be called Money. That was his name. But I met my friend Money, and we used to smoke. And he was a really big smoker back then, and I didn't know how to smoke. I mean, this dude even taught me how to roll Dutches. Like, he taught me how to really, the weed life, After the first few times of us smoking, I absolutely fell in love with weed. I absolutely fell in love with it. I love the way it made me think. I love the way it made me feel. And I've never done really, at that point in my life, still to this day, I was never drunk. So I was never drunk before, and I never really drank alcohol at all. I had a few sips of wine from my grandma when I was younger, but nothing serious. So I was never drunk. So this was my first euphoric feeling from really anything. So it was absolutely awesome. And the only thing I did before that was syrup, which I do not recommend anyone sip syrup or any of that shit. That shit's not cool. But cannabis was the first thing I did daily. I started doing cannabis daily. But back then, it was Dutch after Dutch after Dutch every day. Every day. I remember the first few times, the first few months, I never had to buy weed because I had a studio. So, my friends would come over, they'd smoke, and they'd record, and, we'd all smoke, and I'd just record the music. And that's kind of how me having a studio started. But cannabis and music for me go hand in hand. And it was the cannabis that really influenced more of my creative abilities. That year that I first started smoking cannabis was the same year that I made 11 mixtapes in 1 year. And yeah, even though these mixtapes weren't that good because I wasn't really good of a musician, I was good, but I was such a rookie when it came to smoking weed that every time I would smoke, I would take one hit, but then I would smoke all damn day. Even though one hit would get me where I needed to be, I'd smoke all day, and I'd just be like this all day long, and I couldn't stop laughing. I used to be always all the time. So I was just really funny, and so I made a lot of funny music, and I guess it wasn't really funny music, but it was funny listening to it now, because it's damn, bro, you can tell you are so high, and you were out of it high. But that's really with any rookie smoker. If you're a daily smoker, then you're not going to really have those moments. You might still have those moments, but you have more control of yourself. For me, it was only in the beginning stages where weed was kind of, made me like that. Now it's just a completely different thing, but I also take it for a different reason. But what weed started doing to my mind, it's like, I remember talking about it in the studio one time with a few people, and I was talking about how, for some reason, when I get high, I feel like I'm closer to God. And I know that's a big thing to say and a big controversial thing to say, but that's just how I felt. That's honestly how I felt. Because back then, I wouldn't say that I was a Christian, but I was raised in the Christian religion and went to a Catholic school up until 3rd grade, and I was, so I had those influences. So for me to say that and to think that at that moment was just random. It wasn't like, I don't know, it was just a random thought that came to my mind one time when I was high in the studio, which was like, dude, I feel like I'm closer to God right now. And it was just really crazy. But ever since, I never really looked at it or thought about it at all, since then. I never thought like smoking weed makes me closer to God. It's what I realized is that smoking weed connects me to Mother Nature. It connects me to the consciousness of Mother Nature, the consciousness of the planet. That's what I was confusing with being connected to God or closer to God. So right there from the beginning, basically, started off as a spiritual thing for me, And now it's like I only take these plants and herbs to connect with Mother Earth because it's all about a connection to the planet. But for me, cannabis is the one thing that started that, because, yeah, I take kratom every day and, I'm getting ready to take a kratom break. But it's like cannabis was that first thing that really, and still to this day, I've had times where I've quit cannabis for 2 months at a time, just because, or I had an incident with smoking dirty wax one time, and yeah, that wasn't good. But it's like, but cannabis, the plant itself, I have this immense love and passion for it. For me, it really just helps me in life. It helps me, all these plants kind of help balance me. And it's like, we have this misconception that we should, some people don't agree that you should, smoke weed every single day. In my opinion, I feel like there are some things that are, I guess, safe for me, personally me. I can't tell you what to do every day, but I could say it's safe for me to take every day. And there are some things that I would only take once a week, or some things I only take once a month, or some things I only take 4 times a year. Everyone has their own different thing that they need for their own self, because you can't tell somebody else what to do and somebody can't tell you what to do. On the inside, you have to just want to do it. If you feel like it's not doing you any harm, and it's only doing you good, then there's no need for anyone else's opinion really to affect your decisions on what you ingest in your body. Cannabis is still something that I ingest every day. Cannabis is still something that I have this love for, and I'm glad that it's in my life. Cannabis now is becoming the biggest, I guess, plant drug. I don't really like using the word drug, but it's the biggest plant drug on the planet. It's going to become the most popular thing that we do on this planet. It's going to outtop everything because it's such a gentle psychedelic, because cannabis, yes, is a psychedelic. With everything, though, you have to have self-control. You can get to a point with anything that it's like too much. You can get to a point with water and say, okay, it's too much, my head's starting to hurt, and then your blood vessels start to expand, and, too much. Same thing with cannabis. If you have a bunch of things to do today, and you smoke a shit ton of cannabis, and then you end up not doing those things you were supposed to do, you cannot blame the cannabis for saying, the cannabis made me lazy. Or I couldn't do that because I was high all the time, or I was stoned all the time. Because I honestly used to say that. I used to think that, and this is kind of recently, I used to think that, cannabis, I'd have to slow down because, it kind of makes me lazy and shit. It's not that. You just have to have moderation. You have to have a balance. If you have things to do, if you're smoking in the morning, take 1-2 hits in the morning. That's it. Don't smoke, 4 bongs. Of course you're gonna smoke 4 bongs after you get your shit done and accomplished, so you have something as like a reward to reward yourself. Cannabis is probably something that I'll probably take until the day I die. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I have When I was 18, I got a pot leaf tatted in the middle of my chest, and it'll always be there, right there, right dead in the middle. And I put it there for a reason, because that was the first thing that really started influencing me. Like I said, it influenced my music. Every time I smoke, if I get too high, all I want to do is freestyle or rap, make a beat, make music. That's all I want to do, is be creative. My creative, artistic capabilities get enhanced. And I am just a very creative person. So it's like, I use these plants and herbs to help enhance myself. Because we don't even know what the self is. The self is whatever you make it. The self is whatever you think it is. So, yeah, cannabis for me is something that I use to help bring out my creative abilities on the daily, to help also elevate my mind and to get me high. Because we have this weird negative stigma on being high. You know, like, people don't like the word high. Especially with, certain plants. Like, I don't know, the only thing I can really think about that comes straight to my head at the moment is kratom. People do not like associating the word high with kratom. But that's because what they think a high is. It's funny thing is that in my mind, a high is just an elevated state of mind. That's why it's called a high, because your mind is elevated. Isn't that the point, though? Wouldn't you want your mind to be elevated? Wouldn't your mind to be at a higher state of mind? Expanded? I feel like that's the point, to expand our mind and consciousness. But I can really only say for me. But in reality, I get high off of knowledge as well. You can get high off of, reading something and being like, wow, that was the best thing I've ever read. It was so knowledgeable, and you feel so good about reading it. That's a high. You elevated your mind, you learned something, and you felt good about it. Like, the word is just defined too broad, so then they kind of discredit the word, and then they like make it seem bad, like it's bad to be high, and with a bunch of negative stigmas that are out there that people keep repeating and keep spreading, and then obviously the word high starts to get looked down upon. But in my mind, I love getting high. Everyone really likes getting high. Everyone likes feeling good. Nobody doesn't like feeling good. Because it's just the way that we're wired. It's the way that we were made. It's the way our bodies are designed. They're designed to intake molecules and to feel good for intaking those molecules. It's just the way our body works. Some molecules slow us down, some speed us up, some balance, some get you extremely high and euphoric in the head, some make your body feel warm and fuzzy. Really what it all is just a connection to the planet and connection to the Mother Earth, and we define that as a high. High, connection, same thing. What tobacco is to the shaman, cannabis is to me. It wasn't like that in the beginning, but slowly but surely I started looking at it more spiritually. I started looking at it more sacred. And cannabis to me is like sacred, like the shamans say tobacco is sacred. Because I love shamanism. I love all of their ways. Like I love that part, their knowledge, But in my personal opinion, it's only my opinion, but in my personal opinion, I feel like tobacco is a plant that should not be ingested. Maybe burning it as an incense or something to drive away the, negative energy. But even that, secondhand smoke with tobacco is not a good thing, at least in my opinion. So I just do not agree with using tobacco. But, maybe if the shamans would have had cannabis growing down there instead of growing tobacco, if cannabis was grown where the tobacco was growing, would they have just used the cannabis instead? Probably. Really, the shaman just used what was in their area in South America. And apparently in South America, tobacco was growing wild there, and must have been a lot of it. Because if it was the opposite and there was a lot of cannabis growing down there, like abundance of it, then maybe they would have used the cannabis instead. Cannabis used to make me a little anxious. I used to get a little anxious from it. I'd smoke some and I'd get paranoid or something like that. What I personally think that is, I think the anxiety is the same type thing that would happen if you took some mushrooms and tried going to a party. Like a party where nobody else was tripping, and you tried going to a party and they're all getting drunk and getting turned, and you're trying to have a spiritual time. Or even if you're trying to have fun, the mushroom might not allow you to have fun, because sometimes it takes it serious. It gets a little serious on you. It gets a little deep on you. And then that's what people would call a bad experience or a bad trip, because they had a bad time. They started crying. They started doing this, started doing that. They had fear. They were scared. It's just, that is what psychedelics are. They're meant to be taken deep. At least that's what I've been taught on my journey, and that's kind of what I've applied to my life, is that these things are meant to be taken deep. Yes, you can have fun from them, but you must realize that these things, including cannabis, can take you a little deep. And then you might, with the cannabis, the bad trip would be, that you're paranoid as fuck, freaking out, have anxiety, and freaking out, thinking you're dying, feeling like somebody's sitting on your chest, something like. That's all like if you change the set and setting and the reason why you did the cannabis, or even thanked the cannabis, do people, before they smoke, do they thank the cannabis plant for allowing you to smoke it? Do you thank Mother Ayahuasca and Mother Nature herself for creating the plant? Because I do every time I smoke now. It's just the way that I've began to live my life. It's just, the farther I get down this journey, the more spiritual I start to take things, and the more I realize that everything has a consciousness. The weed I've been smoking this whole time has had a consciousness. And for years that I smoked cannabis, not once did I thank it for allowing me to smoke it. Not once did I thank it for even just for helping me, for changing the way I think, for making me more creative. Thank Mother Nature. I feel like the reason why some people have a bad time on cannabis is because they don't have that connection with her like they should. They don't have the connection with Mother Earth. And it's not our faults, we're not taught to have a connection with Mother Earth. We're not even taught that Mother Earth exists, that she has a consciousness at all. But I'm going to end this conversation, guys, because this is going to be a long, long video. So if you guys made it this far, I really, really thank you guys for that. Because those type of people that really help my channel grow and really help me want to make more videos and be more dedicated to do these things. Because it's like, somebody can sit here and watch like basically a 20-minute video, then it's awesome. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to subscribe, that'd be so amazing. But till next time, peace.